Hi guys, I'm back again today with another reaction video, and today we're reacting to the history of the United States in 10 minutes. Well, the video is longer than 10 minutes, but we're gonna see maybe intro and outro, but I'm gonna also have my coffee because I'm sleepy. I don't know what's going on. It's that time, siesta time for my Spanish people. But anyways, before we start off, forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Click that bell button to get notified whenever I do upload a video. Anyways, guys, let's check this out.
Even if the United States of America emerged as an independent country after 1776 and recognized in 1783, the history of these lands is deeper than that.
Do I know
Thousands
this?
of years
I'm not
ago,
sure.
the first people settled in the American continent. It is not exactly known how the Native Americans first settled in these territories, but a theory says that people migrated from Eurasia starting 30,000 years ago across a land bridge known as Beringia. This connected Siberia to North America during the Ice Age. This migration continued until 10,000 years ago. At that time, a glacial period ended, and the land bridge became submerged by the rising ocean. But before we move any further, we want to give a big thank you to Raid Shadow Legends.
I'm sorry.
The game and PvP that personally prefer a awesome champion. More and more
we don't have ads, so
you will not be and only really totally placed.
That's why it's 11 minutes for a 10 minutes history of US.
They migrated even deeper, and inhabitants were called the incredible journey now. The early inhabitants were called the Paleo-Americans. In time, they migrated even deeper in Americas, and they formed tribes and nations. They created interesting civilizations, developing their own culture. Among the cultures that existed
Age of
here,
Empire, that's why it reminds me
Adena
of
culture, Iroquois culture, Coles Creek culture, Puebloan culture, and Mississippian culture. But another part of today, the United States has an interesting and different history. Speaking about Hawaii, this land wasn't inhabited until the first centuries AD. Native development started with the settlement of Polynesian people between the 1st and 10th centuries. Starting in the 15th century, European colonization began. In 1492, a Spanish expedition headed by the Italian explorer Christopher Columbus sailed west to find a new trade route to the Far East, but landed in what came to be known to Europeans as the New World. After this event, in the next decades, more and more ships sailed west to establish colonies and trade posts. The Spaniards began building their American empire, using islands such as Cuba, Puerto Rico, and Hispaniola as bases.
America is basically like the melting pot of everyone, right? It's like you have the Eurasians or Europeans and Asians, and then we have Africans also. I am missing a continent probably. So it's just like all those combinations come together makes America-ish, right?
They expanded hugely. France founded colonies in eastern North America, a number of Caribbean islands, and small coastal parts of South America. Portugal colonized Brazil. The eastern seacoast was settled primarily by English colonists in the 17th century, along with a much smaller number of Dutch and Swedes. The first successful English colony, Jamestown, was established in 1607 on the James River in Virginia. New wave of settlers arrived in the late 17th century and established commercial agriculture based on tobacco. Even though there were some conflicts between the Native Americans and English settlers, the colonies managed to expand pretty fast, and more people settled in. Each of the 13 American colonies had slightly different governmental structure. In fact, a colony was ruled by a governor appointed from London.
Oh, wow.
This governor controlled the administration and relied upon a locally elected legislature to vote.
I don't think we learned this in school. Do we? I mean, if we did, I wasn't paying attention. Did we do American history? I think we did world and Philippine history. I think we did world, but we didn't really specifically stick to American history, and I don't remember anything. If we did touch base on American history, I didn't learn anything. I'm sorry. But that's the point of YouTube, right? Some times. That's the point of YouTube, is to kind of like inform us and educate us. So here we are. I wasn't listening in school. I was a poor student. When I say poor, I mean bad student. I'm probably poor as well. But this is my karma. I wasn't a good student, so I'm here now. Do we have quiz later?
Governor controlled the administration and relied upon a locally elected legislature to vote taxes and make laws. By the 18th century, the American colonies were growing very rapidly, and as a result of low death rates, along with ample supplies of land and food, this attracted a heavy flow of immigrants.
Oh, wow.
The tobacco and rice plantations imported African slaves for labor from the British colonies in the West Indies. And by the 1770s, African slaves comprised a fifth of the American population.
So it's basically the Europeans that did the slavery thing. So no, history is lost, okay? History is so lost. Like, there's so much in history that we don't know, that it's not even being taught in school, because we learn a certain thing, the books teach us certain things, but I feel like that is just the surface level and there's more depth into it. Like, here, look at that, right? Crazy.
And by the 1770s, African slaves comprised a fifth of the American population. The question of independence from Britain did not arise as long as the colonies needed British military support against the French and Spanish powers. The French and Indian War was an event created by the political development of the colonies. It was also part of the larger 7 Years' War.
French
Britain
colonized
beat French
everyone.
forces, and France lost their colonies and territories in Canada and Louisiana. The war was costly, and Britain needed money. The British Parliament passed the Stamp Act of 1765, imposing a tax on the colonies without going through the colonial legislatures. The issue was drawn. Did Parliament have this right to tax Americans who were not represented in it? Crying, "No taxation without representation." The colonists refused to pay the taxes, as tensions escalated in the late 1760s and early 1770s. The Boston Tea Party in 1773 was marked as the start of the Revolution. It happened in the town of Boston to protest against the new tax on tea. Parliament quickly responded the next year with the
How
Coercive
on
Acts,
brand, huh?
stripping Massachusetts of its historic right of self-government and putting it under army rule, which sparked outrage and resistance in all 13 colonies. Leaders from all 13 colonies gathered and created the First Continental Congress to coordinate their resistance. The Congress called for a boycott of British trade, published a list of rights and grievances, and petitioned the king for redress of those grievances. It wasn't about independence at that point, but this appeal had no effect, and so the Second Continental Congress was created in 1775 in order to organize the defense of the colonies against the British Army. The 13 colonies began a rebellion against British rule in 1775 and proclaimed their independence in 1776 as the United States of America. In the American Revolutionary War, 1775 to 1783, the Americans captured the British invasion army at Saratoga in 1777, secured the Northeast, and encouraged the French to make a military alliance with the United States. France brought in Spain and the Netherlands, thus balancing the military and naval forces on each side, as Britain had no allies. General George Washington was an excellent organizer and administrator who worked successfully with Congress and the state governors, selecting and mentoring his senior officers, supporting and training his troops, and maintaining an idealistic Republican army. The American Revolution was a success, and at the Peace of Paris of 1783, their independence was recognized. And even so, the former colonies gained more than expected. The expansion to the west started, incorporating the Amerindian lands west of the Appalachian Mountains. A deal was made by the United States President Thomas Jefferson in 1803. He bought the Louisiana Territory from France. Initial diplomats sent to France were allowed to spend up to $10 million in order to buy just New Orleans, and if possible, the West Bank of
That
the
is a
Mississippi
lot
River.
back then.
But the French government said that for $5 million more, all of the Louisiana Territory would be sold. The president approved the deal, and the U.S. doubled its size. In the middle of the 19th century, some cessions were happening, and Texas, in joining the Union in 1845, And after the war against Mexican Empire, the United States will take important lands and expand even further. In 1861, after Abraham Lincoln was elected, some states from the South.
Why don't we just learn it like this, right? So simple. I don't know what is it about school that makes history boring. You just don't want to pay attention. It's like, why do I need this? But when you watch it as this video, it's actually interesting, and I even retain more information. And France, they're doing a lot. They were doing a lot back then. They were colonizing Africa, they were colonizing some parts of Asia. Then now, even America, I didn't even know that they did that. I thought it was just Spain. Or I didn't even know America was colonized, to be honest. I know in the Philippines we had Spain, Japan, and US. You guys are the ones who last colonized us, but also gave us our independence, which is very beautiful and crazy. But yeah.
In 1861, after Abraham Lincoln was elected, some states from the South, the Confederation,
4th of July, I
attacked
just
the
remembered.
rest. The South Revolt was happening due to controversy over the enslavement of black people. In 1860, the United States was led by...
We have to watch a history of that. You know what is crazy? Of course we're in Asia, right? So probably that history of the slavery of my people, our people, if you are, we don't really learn about it. If I didn't have the mother I have, I don't think I would ever know about that. Because I didn't learn about it here in the Philippines. Did I learn about it in Ghana? Probably. I don't know. I don't remember anything in Ghana anymore. But yeah, when I came to the Philippines, we didn't learn about that. Of course, it's more based on like the Philippines history, and of course the other parts of the world except Africa, right? So we didn't really touch base on that. The only way I learned about this, my mom bought us like Roots, and then me and my brother watched. She's like, you watch this, this is your history, so go watch it. And we watched it, and it was crazy. And she was like explaining a lot of things. She's crazy, this mother of ours. And she even bought me the brandy version of Cinderella. I was like, I didn't know Cinderella could be black. But anyways, this is not about me. This is about the history of the blacks. I wanna link me videos, please, in the comments, because I wanna watch. I wanna watch something like a history. That would be fun. Not fun.
By
but,
Abraham Lincoln,
you know.
supporting banning slavery in all territories. War broke out in April 1861, when secessionist forces attacked Fort Sumter in South Carolina. After 4 years of war, the Union achieved its victory, and the Confederates were defeated. National unity was slowly restored. The national government expanded its power. The 19th century was a period of economic expansion. More and more industries were created, and also the ascent was put on infrastructure. In 1898, the American-Spanish War is happening. Americans are winning in short term some battles. And
Wait, U.S. gained Puerto Rico, Guam, the Philippine Islands for 20 million. So they fought Spain for those countries. Why didn't they keep us? Why did they keep Guam? Or maybe Philippines was like, nah, we don't want to be a territory. Okay, maybe Guam will give in, so talk to them, but we want to keep our country, which is really beautiful. That the relationship between Philippines and America is great. But it would have been nice to be a territory as well, just because you are more protected. It's like extra protection, right? For right now, being independent from the US is like pulling out. So this is how I'm gonna explain it, okay? If you like it or not, this is how I'm gonna explain it. It's like pulling out. You don't know. But then if we were like Guam, a territory of the US, it's like putting on a condom. Who is winning now? Probably no one.
the Treaty of Paris, US is getting the Philippines, Puerto Rico, and Guam. At the beginning of the 20th century, World War I started. Even though the US was neutral due to German attacks on the American ships and due to their intentions to make Mexico join against the US, the Americans joined the Allies. After this event, the economy was growing and all was good until the Great Depression, which started in 1929. This event shook the world and created a base on which the Second World War will start. The United States joined the Allies after being attacked at Pearl Harbor on December 7th, 1941 by the Japanese Empire. Americans fought a distant war in Europe, Pacific, and they provided supplies to the Soviets, armored cars, motorized equipment, food, etc., winning battle by battle in the Pacific, getting closer to the Japanese mainland, and after D-Day in Europe in 1944, the Americans managed to have a great impact and to help a lot on the Allied side. The war ended in 1945. Germany capitulated in May, and Japan in September after the 2 nuclear bombs dropped at Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The United States and Soviet Union emerged as rival superpowers in the aftermath of World War II. This was a period known as the Cold War. The 2 countries confronted each other.
I bet I learned this, but I just don't remember the specificity of the wars and the names and when it took place. So this is like a new learning curve.
Of World War II. This was a period known as the Cold War. The 2 countries confronted each other indirectly in the arms race, proxy wars across the world, including the Korean and Vietnam Wars, and propaganda campaigns. The purpose of this was to stop the spread of communism. In the 1960s, waves of civil rights movements started. Rights of voting and freedom of movement to African Americans and other racial minorities. The Cold War ended with the collapse of the Soviet Union. After, the United States has been focusing on modern conflicts in the Middle East. The beginning of the 21st century saw the September 11th attacks carried out by Al-Qaeda in 2001, which was later followed by the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. In 2008, the United States had its worst economic crisis since the Great Depression.
That was
A
really
big
bad.
thank you again to our sponsors. Don't forget to check them out by accessing the link down in the description. And also a big thank you
done?
to our awesome supporters
I was
on Patreon.
expecting like 5 minutes more. Maybe I talked too much, that's why. But anyways, guys, that was interesting. Like always, I love this kind of videos because we always learn together. I don't know a lot of things. I don't understand sometimes the video, but you guys teach me or you help me out in the comment section down below. So everybody's winning, you know? Even if my examples are horrible and I sit like a crazy homeless person, it's fine, you know, that's life. We shouldn't be restricted because of our genders, race, or I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, maybe I'm high on coffee or something. But if you like this video, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, leave in the comment section down below what other videos like to react to. The original link of this video will be in the description box down below, so it's my social media link. So guys, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.